I was like, wait a minute, I need to record this, right? So our humanity, okay, is what's in question, right? Because we're human, you know, we have different functions of our body, you know, women and men both have different functions, you know, we have different things that go on with our bodies. And so Yah is really showing us the relationship between him and his people, right? So one may ask, well, why is it important for us to understand these things? Well, as the last few weeks, I've been trying to get us to understand that we're unclean. We're unclean people. And, you know, in order to be just like the rest of the world. Now, there's really no difference when it comes to our humanness versus their humanness. We're all the same, okay? So all of us need to understand that we're human and our Elohim is not human. And because he's not human, he says, if you guys are going to dwell with me like the children of Israel were doing, you're going to have to remain clean. You're going to have to remain purified. You can't touch certain things. Uncleanness is transmitted through what? It's transmitted through touching things. It's transmitted through impurity. It's transmitted through menstrual cycles. It's transmitted through seminal emission from men's bodies. And you say, well, why that? And why does he go into chapter number 17 talking about blood? And you can't touch blood, you can't eat, you know, you can't drink blood, you can't eat blood, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. You got to wash your clothes, you got to wash your body, you got to break this pot, you got to scrub this, you got to catch this on fire. There's all these different elements that have to do with purification. And those things that we were doing were what Yah required. And that's what we need to know. It's not that you and I are going to be able to obtain any type of holiness outside of us following what he said. But let's read the first Aliyah. The first Aliyah was literally the first day, okay, of the first reading of it. And it said, the high priest was instructed only to enter the Holy of Holies chamber of the sanctuary once a year, only once a year. The high priest was only able to go in. And when they talk about the Holy of Holies, they're talking about the part of the sanctuary in which Yah's Torah was in that gold box, the Holy of Holies. He was only able to go in there once a year. That's it. And then it's called Yom Kippur, meaning the Day of Atonement. Yom is day. Okay, so you know that's day. And Kippur is, it means to atone, to cover. Okay, so the day of a covering, a day of atonement. And they use that word atonement to mean, and I'll write it right here for us. It's spelled A-T, okay, and then I'm gonna put it here, O-N-E, and then mint, okay? So when you look at that word atonement, okay, I made a little acronym out of it, okay, meaning to be made at one, mint, meaning to be made one with, to make things right, to make amends, okay? The Day of Atonement was for the transgressions that were done across on the altar and on the actual, the tent of meeting and the Holy of Holies. So they had to go in and consecrate those things, even though there were offerings, they were brought there on a daily basis for these transgressions. And again, these transgressions weren't done on purpose. They were inadvertent. They were just from a woman having a baby. They were from a woman who had to go through a time of purification. They were from men who accidentally did something, right? So our ideas of atonement are surrounded with the idea of us just being unclean, okay? So once a year, the Day of Atonement, and they were enter into this very special place. And when they went there, he had to do what Yah asked him to do, okay? In the manner that Yah asked him to bring the offering, okay? What he brought for himself, and I'm not going to read everything here, but what he brought for himself was an offering for the high priest himself, which was a bull. And what he brought for the children of Israel, for the whole nation, was a goat, okay? And he also brought another goat. One goat was for this sin offering, and the other goat was for the children of Israel to take all the transgressions and send those transgressions off into the wilderness. Okay, you can see here that this priest had to confess. But during the whole year, were they bringing offerings? Yes. So why this one day? Why on, and does anybody tell me what day the Day of Atonement is, if you know? What month is the Day of Atonement in? Is it the 5th, 6th, or 7th month?
I think 7th month, in
It's the
around
7th
September.
month. The 7th month. Good job. And it's on the 10th day. Okay. It's on the 10th day of the month of the 7th month. And that's on the Hebrew calendar. Okay. Which sometimes falls around September or October, depending on where it falls at. Okay. On that day, on the day of Yom Kippur, you and I are supposed to afflict ourselves. And how do we afflict ourselves? We afflict ourselves, as you see right here. We're supposed to afflict ourselves. And the greatest way that a person can afflict themselves is by denying themselves food and water. Okay. Don't afflict yourself with a knife. Don't cut yourself, but you afflict yourselves, because affliction in the Hebrew is called anah. You can write this down, A-N-A-H. Forgive my writing. I'm using my finger on this little iPad thing. Okay. So anah, A-N-A-H. Okay. Affliction. I've been sharing with you lately about what affliction means and how important it is. Okay. What I want you to take from this lesson today is this, is that affliction is good. Affliction is good. Affliction is not bad. Who do you know in the scriptures got afflicted in the Hebrew scriptures?
I guess Moshe,
No,
when he left. Oh,
Yov.
Eov, and that's called, they call him Job.
oh, you're right.
Okay, and Job, all right, so they call him Job and J-O-B, but Eov is really spelled with the Y, right, or the Yod, okay, and Eov's name, okay, Eov's name means enemy. That's what the name Job or Eov means. It means enemy. If you look at his name in Hebrew, it means enemy. Okay, he's an enemy. Right? And guess what? Guess how he felt? He felt like he was what? He felt that Yah looked at him as an enemy because of everything he was being afflicted with. Right? That's how he felt. He felt like Yah is his enemy. Like Yah chose to make him an enemy because of his affliction. Affliction is good because the word anah means to be humbled. Affliction is to be humbled. When you fast and you don't keep any food, because fasting has to do with the stomach. Your stomach is your life in Hebrew. Your life is your stomach and your stomach is your life. Okay. It's your kai. Okay. And and it means to put food in your stomach. So when you don't put food in your stomach, it's like you're going like death. You're dying because you're afflicting yourself. You're really harming yourself into a degree. Okay. So what Yah is asking us to do on this day is to afflict ourselves. Don't have any food on your stomach. Humble yourselves. Okay. So that's what it is. It's humility. All right. Somebody tell me, when did Yah humble Israel?
In the wilderness.
He did it in the wilderness. And how did he humble them?
With manna.
Yes. Okay. So you guys understand that? So humility is good because, and affliction is good because it causes you to bow down. It causes you to understand your place as a human being, that you literally need Yah. And a lot of times we don't see it like that. We've been told and taught by people over time that you could do whatever you want to do, and Elohim he's always there for you. He doesn't do anything to hurt you. He won't do anything to bring harm on you, but that's not true. Yah does all things. He'll humble you. He'll test you to find out, to see whether or not you'll keep his commandments. Now, when we look at Deuteronomy chapter number 8, verse number 1, it says, all the commandments I'm giving today, forgive all this, you guys, I'm sorry. You are to take care to shamar, obey, meaning guard what I told you and to do what I have asked you to do so that you will live and increase your numbers and enter and take possession of the land that Yahweh swore to your ancestors. You are to remember everything of the way in which Yahweh Elohim led you these 40 years in the desert. And what did he do? He was humbling you and he was proving you. Okay. That's what he was doing. He's humbling you and proving you in order to know what was in your heart, whether you would obey his mitzvah or not. Not so he can know. He already knew that they were not going to do it. He was trying to get them to know. Okay. So he humbled you. Okay. And this word humble here, it means anah. N-A-A-Nah. I'm going to anah. Okay. I'm going to humble you and allowing you to become hungry. Yah will allow you to become hungry. And then I fed you with men, with not with a man, but with manna. They call it man, okay? Which neither you nor your ancestors had ever known. To make you understand that what? A person does not live, that means a person means a human being, an Adam, consisting of both male and female. You guys do not live on food alone. That's Adam. You do not live on food alone. I need everyone here to say that. We do not live on food alone.
We do not live on food alone.
You are not going to live on food alone, but you're going to live on everything that comes out of Yah's mouth.
Hallelujah.
You hear what I said? Because that's what it is, right? So why did he bring him to the desert? Let's just, from basically this one we just read right now, why did he bring them to the desert?
To humble them.
To humble them, because he knew when he got there wasn't going to be any what?
Food.
There's no food. So what do they have to do?
Trust.
They gotta humble themselves.
Humble. Yeah.
You gotta humble yourself. You gotta bow down. When you know that the only way you're gonna survive is by trusting in Yah, you gotta humble yourself. It's hard to humble yourself when you got a house full of food and you can go to Costco anytime you want to. Don't envy these NBA players and these singers and these wealthy actors. It's hard for them to humble themselves.
Yep.
They got everything they need at their fingertips.
Yep.
They don't need to humble themselves. They're already humbled. I work hard at what I do, so I don't need to do this. Yah is telling us that we have to what? We have to humble ourselves. We have to bow down. Right? Somebody tell me why were the Hebrew people forbidden from sacrificing anywhere they wanted to except for the temple? Give me some ideas.
Why they were forbidden to do what?
They were forbidden to sacrifice anywhere except for the temple. Except for the tabernacle. Why?
Because all of the blood had to be accounted for.
Thank you. All of the blood of the animals had to be accounted for. And why do you need the blood? What's so important about the blood? What does the blood have in it?
Life.
Life.
Thank you. It has life in it. So anytime that someone was to sacrifice outside of the tabernacle, they were instead of that blood being used for atonement, they were just wasting it. You see, they were just wasting it. They're wasting the life that's in that blood. Yah says, if anyone sacrifices anything outside of where I told them, I'm going to hold them accountable for bloodshed. As if they killed a person.
Wow.
So the life of an animal means something to Yah. So when these Christians go on and tell us that he didn't want the blood of a bull and a goat, they still miss the fact that he cares about life. The reason why, what did he do to the man that supposed to marry Judah's son, Judah's daughter-in-law Tamar. He killed the first son? What did he do to the second son? You guys remember that?
No.
What did he do to that son?
He killed him too.
He killed him. Tell us why he killed him.
He killed him because he spilled the semen on the ground. He didn't fulfill his obligation to what he was supposed to do according to Torah. He was supposed to continue his name.
And what's in his blood? What was in his semen?
Blood.
Life. Or,
Life.
What's life?
Mm-hmm.
Yah cares about life. Someone tell me, when a man has a seminal emission at night, he has a discharge, and he had woke up and he found himself in a discharge. What does he need to do?
Go shower.
shower.
Yes,
Go
and what else does he
shower.
need to do?
He must be banned until the Arab, I believe.
Yes, he's unclean until the evening. He has to wash his clothes, wash his body, and be
Yeah.
unclean until the evening. Was he allowed to go pray to Yah after he had a seminal emission?
No.
No.
No, not until when?
Arab.
Until the evening, till the Arab. How many Arabs are there?
Hmm?
How many evenings are there?
2.
There's 2.
Huh?
How do you know there's 2 Arabs?
I didn't know that.
There's 2 mixing of the night and the day, so it's called a rev, but it's actually the dawn and the evening. They're the same, but they're just reversed, right?
So, yes. So here it is. All right. So I'm putting this line right here. I hope you guys can see my screen.
Yes.
That's going to be your sun. Okay. And this is your darkness. Okay. All right. And this is how you know that is okay. So the sun, what time did the sun come up today?
Sun come up. I don't know. 6.
5.
6 something o'clock, 6 in the morning, right? Right. So just say 6 a.m. When the sun first starts to come out, there's a time frame between this time right here, between this darkness and this light right here. There's a time, what they call a rev, is where there starts blending. There's a mixing of light and darkness together, which they call dawn. So you don't see, it just doesn't turn on a light switch. Okay? Then when the day goes throughout the day, this is day. Because the sun rules what? The day.
The day.
And what rules the night?
The moon.
The moon. Right? So this is night. So when the sun is done with its rulership, it has to turn over the rulership to somebody else. Right? So when the sun begins to turn over his rulership, it's changing guards. There's a time where the sun starts going down, and then the darkness, there's a blending of day and night. That's a mixing. It's called a rev. And you can verify this in the book of Exodus. It talks about Avarim. There's 2 of them. And we know that because this is your evening over here. It's not day nor night. It's evening. It has its own time. And guess what? This is evening over here too. So you had 2 opportunities to be clean. Not 1, 2. You had 2 opportunities. Do you guys understand that?
Mm-hmm.
There's a time frame from the time when the sun can actually be seen and the time when the darkness. So the sun is ruling the day. The sun rules the day. That's who's in charge of the day.
Yeah.
And the
That-
moon, yes?
You, whenever you're speaking, there's like a static. Is it my phone or is anybody else
Yeah,
hearing?
everyone needs to go on mute. Mute yourself, and then when you ask the question, unmute yourself. Thank you so much. So the sun is ruling this, and then it changes guard, and then the night comes in, and then the moon and the stars rule the night. So when Yah talks about, you know, the Shabbat is a time of light. It's the day. Okay. When they made offerings to Yah, they made it first in the morning and then in the evening. They made it at a rev. And then they made it in Boker. Okay. So there is times. Okay. So I just wanted to share that with you. Is that there's rulership at different times. So there's two revs. Okay. So that's how a person's supposed to be unclean until the evening. There's two of them. Just wanted to let you know that. Any questions on that?
I have a question. I was wondering, so does the day actually, or the Yom actually start when the sun rises, or when the sun is like seen over the horizon?
Yes.
Okay.
The moment that you see the sun, the moment that the sun comes, as soon as you see the light and there's no blending no more, you know how when the sky turns different colors, it's
Right.
transitioning. Once it comes out of that transition, that's when the sun is in complete rulership. See, it's just a changing of the guard. It's not like a light switch where it goes light, dark. It doesn't work like that. Yah has these two times where he allows one to start ruling, one light to rule the other. I mean, to rule the day, one to rule the night. It's a changing of the guard. So at night, like when the Shabbat ends the moment that you see the sky turn in different colors. When you don't see the sun any longer, it's down past the horizon. But you see these colors, that's a rev. That's a rev. When you see the dusk, the dawn and the dusk, right? You see
Right.
that's not day, and that's neither is it night. It's two times that is neither day nor night. It's called a rev. Okay. Why is that important? Why would we put emphasis on that? Because Yah does. He tells you exactly that you're going to be unclean. Don't come to me if you've been unclean when the sun is up. You come to me after the sun has been gone down. Then you can come and then you can pray to me. Then you're clean. But we don't want to accept that because Western culture tells us that, hey, you know what? Like Stan was saying the other day, right, Stan? The Western culture, what we've been taught, has been wrong. Everything has been the opposite. You know, we're clean. We could go boldly before the throne of grace. We can approach him. We can say anything. He'll forgive us. No, Shlomo told us to be careful about our words. Be careful. Let our words be very few when you go to the Holy One of Israel. Okay. The third part of the Aliyah is this. There is no consumption of blood. No blood to be consumed. None. Absolutely no blood. So when someone says, you know, hey, this is my body, this is my blood, drink it, you know that's a problem. Okay. Also, too, we understand that there's a lot that goes into these sexual relationships, which a lot of times people don't want to talk about because it's uncomfortable for them. Okay. Sex within itself is not a bad thing. Sex is good because that's what Yah uses to reproduce people. Okay. And to bring people just like animals, it's a process. But what has happened is the Western culture has turned around and they have made it filthy. And they have showed us different ways in which it's okay with them. And that's why you have, you know, the homosexuality, you have the transgender agenda going on right now. You have the, you know, people bestiality, you have all these different ways. And these things were the things that the people of Israel were doing. Okay. And where did they learn it from? They learned it from the places where they were. And you said, well, Dawid, can you please show me what's going on with this so I can have an understanding? And let me show it to you. It was in our Torah portion. It's very profound. When I read it, I was like, man, I've never seen this before, or maybe just it went right over my head. I don't know, but it's very, very telling about what the situation is for Israel. Okay. It's in chapter number 18. And this is why we should read our Torah portions, because you're going to discover so many things about this and you're meditating on, be like, well, why did he mention that? You know, why is he talking about this? You know, why is this huge? Why is sex like a whole chapter on sex, on what it should be and how it should not be and all these different things? Well, the first part is in verse number 1 of chapter number 18 in Vayikra, it says, Yahweh said to Moshe, speak to the sons or the people of Israel and tell them, I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Has he not said this before? Has he not? How many times have he said this? A lot. Over and over and over again. I am Yahweh. He's letting them know the Elohim that you serve, I'm letting you know how I am. The Elohim that's talking to us, our Elohim says this, you are not to engage in the activities, because that's what sex is. It's an activity found in the land of Egypt where you used to live, and you're not to engage in activities found in the land of Canaan where I am bringing you. You are not to live by their laws, okay? You are to obey my rulings and my laws and live accordingly. So what is this all about? It is about how you live. How do you live where you used to live? How do you live? How do you live? That's the question. It's how do you live? Okay? He says, if a person observes and does my laws and my rulings, whoever does them, that person shall have life. That's life. That's living. So the connection with the Torah is, if you want to live the life that Yah told you to live, then you have to do what he asked you to do. Because then you, by you doing what he says, it makes you understand that he's your Elohim. Your Elohim says there's things that you can't do. In context, what we're talking about are activities. And the activities were found in Egypt, and they were found in the land that he was bringing them to. Okay? So this whole chapter, which you can read on your own, talks about these activities. So with that being said, you ask yourself, well, what's the, what is it? Well, guess what? Israel were committing these sins, these activities, and Yah says, and I'm going to destroy you like I destroyed them because they were committing these activities. Okay, you'll be cut off. So at the end of the chapter, what does he say? He says, if you do these things, here, let's see this, because we're talking about cleansing, right? Verse 24 at the end of the chapter. So the beginning of the chapter tells you where you learned it and from Egypt, and then you learned it when you're going to Canaan. So they already learned this in Egypt. So they were doing this in Egypt. Everything that's in chapter 18, they were doing, sleeping with their mothers, sleeping with the fathers, sleeping with the daughters, sons sleeping with the sisters, people sleeping with animals, people sleeping with other people's wives. They were doing that in Egypt, and they were doing it in Canaan. Yah says, do not make yourselves unclean, because that's how you become unclean. You become unclean by any of these things, because all the nations, and because of all the nations which I'm expelling ahead of you, are defiled with them. So all the nations that they went to go take over were doing these things. They're defiled with the activities, the things that they were doing. He says the land has become unclean. Right? So when you think about the, where you are living today, how much uncleanness is there in this land? I need somebody to answer that, because we've been on this for weeks now.
A lot.
So yes, so when we read that Yah says, now you're proclaiming my name in the nations where you're living, do you understand now is that wherever you are, that's where you're at? You're in an unclean land. When you're in a land full of homosexuality, like Lot was, then you're in an unclean land. When you're in a land with transgenderism, you're in an unclean land. When you're in a land with people having sex with animals on YouTube, you're in an unclean land. And that land is going to be punished. He says, that's why I am punishing these lands. Did they receive the Torah? No.
Nope.
Did he give the Torah to Egypt? No. But people say, well, did he destroy? He destroyed Egypt and their gods. When they left, he destroyed them. So he destroyed them where they left, and that's what people were afraid. And now he's going to destroy the places where they're going. That's why they were afraid.
David.
Yeah.
Can you go into explaining why Israel and why Yah would, Egypt, why Yah would destroy Egypt if he didn't give them the Torah? It's kind of like our dogs or our animals. We have a certain what? Can you go into a little bit more about that?
Well, I don't know what points you want to bring out, but give me a
Like
little bit more.
The instinct, like you said, and I asked you the other day, remember I said, well, if they weren't, if Egypt wasn't, didn't get the Torah, how can Yah hold them accountable, right? How can you hold them to that? And you told me that it was basic, like instinct, like, you know, we have a salmon that goes upstream to a certain spot every year to spawn. It's like those things that we're talking about, like not sleeping with your neighbor or killing someone. Those are instinct, right?
I think you explained it really nicely. I'll add on to that because I do remember saying that. There was a question was raised about, well, why does Yah destroy people if they never had the Torah? Because he's only given it to us, and that's why he's destroying us. Well, the difference is like we're no different than any nation except for the fact that we're the only one who's ever heard him speak to us directly and give us these laws to keep us purified. This is not a religion. So it's not like he gave us a religion. What he gave us was some instructions on how to live among him. So when you went to go take a turd, you had to dig a hole and use the bathroom and cover it. He says, because why? Because I live in your midst. I'm among you. When you had, like I said, sexual relationship, you should go ahead and bathe your body and you'll be unclean till the evening. Because why? Because I'm in your midst. Don't sleep with your neighbor's wife. Why? Not only because it's wrong, but because I'm in your midst and there's a punishment for that. I will cut you off. Instinct is what Yah has given all humanity. That's why he can judge the nations. That's why he judged Sodom and Gomorrah. That's why he judged Nineveh. What was the judgment he gave Nineveh? Someone tell me. What did he tell them?
He told them, I'll kill you in 40 days.
I'm going to come and judge you in 40 days. And you know what those people said? They didn't ask, well, what did we do wrong? They didn't ask, what did we do wrong or what should we do? They didn't ask Jonah, well, what should we do to be saved? They said, guess what they said? He's coming. He's judging. Everyone needs to what? Anah. They went immediately and went into a fast. Immediately. They went into a fast immediately. They didn't only fast themselves. Go ahead.
So they inherently knew what they were doing wrong. So people that say that they don't know. Yeah. So people who say they don't know that homosexuality is wrong are lying.
They're lying. If a person said, well, I didn't get the Torah, so you can't judge me, you're lying. Yah has given Israel the Torah for the purpose of dwelling in his presence. That's the only reason why Israel got the Torah, because he said, I'm going to join myself to you and make you my people, right? That's the only reason. That's the only reason. In the book of Jonah in chapter number 3, Jonah entered the city and had finished, excuse me, let me slow down. Jonah began his entry into the city and had finished only his first day of proclaiming 40 days Nineveh will be overthrown. That's all he said. This is his message. 40 days, Nineveh will be overthrown. That's the only thing he said. That's the only thing he proclaimed. Okay? And when the people of Nineveh believed Elohim, okay, they believed what was being proclaimed from this man, Jonah. Jonah's name means dove. That's what his name means. D-O-V-E. He's a dove. That's what his name means. A pigeon, dove. He was sent to deliver a message. And the message was 40 days, Nineveh will be overthrown. And when the people of Nineveh believed Elohim, they proclaimed a fast. And they put on sackcloth. They took off the best clothes that they had. They thought about what it was to believe something That means that they trusted what he said. They supported it. When we believe something, that means we support it, because the word believe means aman. And aman means, and I'll write it here for you. They call it amen in English, but it's aman, M-A-A-N, aman, okay? So aman, and then we got the word for fast. Fast is anah, being humble. Forgive my writing, anah, okay? So they got what? They believed. They supported what he said. They understood it, okay? And then so because that proclamation happened, they proclaimed a fast. And they changed their clothing and they changed their diet at that moment. So really what they did is they had a change of mind, which is called the change of heart. And the greatest of them to the least, everybody decided that, guess what? This is not going to work for us, because when the news reached the king, so it wasn't that the king had heard it first, everybody else heard it. Then when the news, what news? Was this good news like the New Testament says? Was this good news about believing something? No, this was bad news, people. And when that bad news reached the king of Nineveh, he got up from his throne and he took off his robe. So he changed his attitude and he put on sackcloth just like the people, and he sat in ashes. Then he made a proclamation throughout the whole Nineveh. And what did he say? He said, by decree, meaning a law. He made it a law. And he said, no person or animal, herd or flock is to put anything in his mouth. They are neither to eat or drink water. They must be covered with, this was a law. They must be covered with sackcloth, both people and animals. He told that he was so afraid, he covered the animals with sackcloth. That's how serious they were about theirs. And they are to cry out to Elohim with all their might. So these people understood what it would take in order to stop Yah from bringing judgment on them. He says, let each of them turn. That's the prerequisite. Turn from his evil way. They knew what was evil. Did they have the Torah? No. And from the violence they practiced, Yah is going to come against lands that do evil and that practice violence, robbing, killing, walking up, shooting people in the head. You understand? Violence, death. Who knows? This is what he said. This is what we need to understand. Who knows? Maybe, just maybe, Elohim will change his mind and relent and turn from his fierce anger, and then we won't perish. When Elohim saw by their deeds what they did, and they decided to do, that they had turned from their evil way, and he relented and did not bring on them the punishment he had threatened. And he's fulfilling the words in which he says in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 18, if a nation that I've decided to destroy turns from their ways, I will change my mind. Maybe. Maybe. Maybe, maybe, maybe. And does he look to us to say how he should he consult with us to find out whether or not he's going to destroy somebody or destroy a nation? Should he consult with us to find out whether or not these people are guilty or not? Should he consult with us to find out what our perspective is and what we see as sin? Should he consult with us? No. You don't listen. Israel is bound by contract to keep the Torah. The nations are bound to Yah as being his creation. They know the difference between right and wrong. Otherwise, he wouldn't be just in judging them. You guys follow what I'm saying?
Hallelujah.
Praise the Holy One of Israel. That's the Elohim that we serve. Going back to
so how is the Most High going to get the attention of the whole world?
Okay, so that's a great question, and I got a great answer for you. And it's going to be what he says, right? So let's look at what he says.
Was I bad for asking that question?
No. Actually, that's a great question, because what we're going to find is Yah doesn't let's see. Okay, well, this is good. Well, let's just read this little part, because there was a part that I wanted to show you, where he says, verse number 11. This is this young man talking to Job and the enemy, and saying, hey, you said a lot of stuff about Yah and everything, and you're really on that, right? And he said, he pays people back for what they do, and he sees that each person gets what his conduct deserves. It is certain that Elohim does nothing wicked. Shaddai will not pervert justice. And he asked the question, did someone else put him in charge of the earth? Who else established the entire world? Yah did. If he were to take back man's heart to himself, and he would gather himself, his spirit and his breath, all flesh would instantly perish, and everyone will return to dust, right? And then he begins to tell them, well, hey, if you guys are smart, you'll start listening, right? But there is a point where doing the overturns. Bring the cries that, but Elohim is silent, accused of face, and go to anyone he's chastised with the defending, tell me who failed, I'll do more rewards to your approval, blah, 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 blah. Speaking of discernment for now. There was that wasn't what I was looking for. I'm looking for when he says that he doesn't warn about his judgment. He doesn't warn. He doesn't give a warning.
Well, because his whole Torah is a warning.
Well, it's a warning. Yeah, it's a warning. It's a warning. It's a warning. He doesn't get angry and punish it and fulfill it, open his mouth. Okay. So I'm just reading. I'm trying to find it. He gives. Well. Okay. Here it is. I'm sorry. And don't worry about asking, because it's the truth. We should ask. Yah warns people. Okay. He does. He says, okay, so let's just start in verse number 10. He says, yet Elohim finds pretext for accusing me. This is what Job said. He regards me as his enemy. This is what Job is saying about Yah. He's saying that Yah, Elohim has regarded me as his enemy. He puts my feet in stocks and he watches wherever I go. So he's saying he's doing me wrong. He said, but in this you're wrong. I will answer you. Elohim is greater than any mortal. Why do you strive against him? This is the young man talking to him. He will not defend his words. Elohim speaks once and twice and still hears misses the point. Okay. So Elohim speaks once, even twice, and still the hearer misses the point. In a dream and in a vision at night, when they slumber falls upon people, and as they sleep in their beds, he opens up people's ears. Not one person, people's. Yah opens people's ears at night. He opens their ears, and he seals the matter with a warning to turn a person away from his action and protect a man from pride, so that he will keep himself away from the pit and from perishing by the sword. So Yah warns people. Okay. He also warns a person in a dream or a vision. He also warns a person in a what? By pain. I'll warn you by pain. I'll tell you what I'm about to do. I'll warn you by the pain when you're in your bed, when all your bones are hurting, so that he will detest bread. You will no longer want to eat as well as rich food. You won't have no desire for anything. And you ask, well, what's going on? He says his flesh wastes away till he can't stand to look, and his bones protrude and become unsightly. Why is this being applied? Because at this time, what's his name? Job did not want to eat bread, and he couldn't eat any rich food because he was in so much pain. But he was mad at Yah because Yah was using this affliction to bring to his attention that he needed to bow down and understand that he is a human being. That's our problem. Our problem is that we think that Yah is doing something to us, and, for whatever reason, right? We're thinking that, you know what? We don't have to answer to him. But Yah tells us Yes.
I'm sorry. I was just wondering. Also, do you think the sign to the world will be us? Where is that where Yah is going to take us out? And all they'll
Well, he
see
says,
it.
I will make my, when I glorify myself, I'll make myself known to the nations in the sight of the nations when I bring Israel out of the lands that they've been scattered. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring them out where everyone can see it. Okay. I'm going to bring them out where everyone can see it. But the time that he's coming to reveal his arm, when everyone can see it, when he brings Israel out of their captivity. And I believe he says it in 34 at the end. Is it 37? He tells you going to pasture. It's 37. I know it's in 37. That was in 34. All right. So it's about him revealing to the nations what he is about to do when they see it. Okay. He says that I will take the people of Israel, okay, from among all the nations, right, where they have gone, and are gather them from every side and bring them back to their own land. I'm talking about all, the whole entire nation of Israel, okay? This is what I'm going to do. And I will make them one nation. They won't be two. They're not going to be two nations. They're not going to be, well, there's one nation there and then the other 10 are lost and we got to go find them. No, I will make them one nation in the land, one, and on the mountains of Israel. And I'm going to give them one king, will be king for them. So what is associated here is, number one, them becoming one nation, and then they have one king. So Israel can only legitimately be legitimate when they have one king and when they're one nation. They will no longer be two nations. Two nations meaning the house of Ephraim and the house of Judah. Because in this text, he's saying, I'm going to bring these two nations together. They will no longer be divided into two kingdoms when they have one king. And there'll be one nation. Okay? They will never again defile themselves with the idols and their detestable things or any of their transgressions. So there won't be any more, idol worship, any more, speaking of being in a land of wickedness, being around people who are doing that which is wrong. He says, but I will save them. I will save them. And the them there is both nations, both houses. I will save them. I, Yahweh, will save them from the places where they have been living and sinning. Like I told you, the land and the places where we're at right now is wicked. And I will cleanse them. Yah's going to do the cleansing for us, not ourselves. Yah is, so that they will be my people and I will be their Elohim. My servant David will be king over them. That's the king. And all of them will have one shepherd. They will live by my rulings and keep and observe my regulations when I come and get them. They will live in the land. They, both houses of Israel, will live in the land that I gave to Yaakov, my servant, where your ancestors lived. They will live there, they, their children, and their grandchildren forever. And David, my servant, will be their leader forever when they get back to the land. I will make a covenant of peace with them, an everlasting covenant, meaning that I will no longer be angry with them. I will give to them, increase their numbers. Remember I talked about increasing? How does he increase their numbers? I allow you to be with your mates. I allow your cattle to go together. I allow everyone to be back together and set my sanctuary among them forever. My sanctuary. So when Yah goes to his land, his sanctuary will be there and his people will be there and they will increase their numbers. And he said, my home will be with them. I'm going to make my sanctuary with them, which is my home, which is my Mishkan, will be with them. And I will be their Elohim and they will be my people. Now, here's the thing, I think, to answer your question, Rivi, is that the nations will know that I am Yahweh Elohim, who sets Israel apart as holy when my sanctuary is with them forever. So right now, the nations don't know that Yahweh is our Elohim. Why? And why don't they know that Israel set apart as holy? Why? Because there is no sanctuary, because he has not made his home with Israel forever, because there's no everlasting covenant made of peace right now, because there is no sanctuary. Yah's home is not with Israel right now, because there is no sanctuary. Yahweh is not our Elohim, like he just said, until both nations have been brought back as one nation, one king, one sanctuary, and Yah being with them. That's what he said. Okay? Ever. They won't know until Yah sets them apart as holy. And he will do it in front of their eyes. He will reveal himself to the countries and the nations. In the book of Isaiah, someone, I think a friend of mine was asking me the other day, he was like, hey, so how do you know that Yahweh is going to, why is it, you think it's going to be one day, or you think it's going to be several days, or what do you think it's going to be? And I said, well, let's just see what he says. Let's see what Yah says. Yah says in chapter 66, verse 15, and I won't, this is not taking, usually people would take a scripture out of and just say, well, this is the scripture, so let's just take this scripture and let's not read the context. Let's not find out what's going on. Well, let's see what he's talking about. Okay. Let's see what it says. Rejoice with Yerushalayim. Be glad with her, all you who love her. Rejoice with her, all of you who mourn for her, so that she will nurse and be satisfied by her comforting breast, and drinking deeply and delighting in overflow of her glory. Yahweh says, I will spread shalom over her like a river. Over who? Jerusalem. So there's going to be peace in Jerusalem when Yahweh does this. And the wealth of all the nations will be flooding like a stream to where? To Jerusalem. You will nurse and be carried in her arms and cuddled in her lap. Who? Jerusalem. Like someone comforted by his mother, I will comfort you in Yerushalayim. You will be comforted. Your heart will rejoice at the sight. At what? The sight of what? Yerushalayim. Your bodies will flourish like newly sprouted grass. Why? When you get to Yerushalayim, it will be known that the hand of Yahweh is with his servants, but with his enemies, his fury. And how are we going to know that? Well, verse 15 tells us, for look, Yahweh will come in fire, and his chariots will be like a whirlwind, to render his anger furiously, with his rebuke with a blazing fire. Yahweh will judge who? All humanity. All humanity. He's going to judge all humanity with fire and with the sword. And those slain by Yahweh will be many. Those who consecrate and purify themselves in order to enter the gardens, then follow the one who is already there eating pig meat. Reptiles and mice will all be consumed together. I've seen people on YouTube eating mice, reptiles, and pigs. Says Yahweh, I'm killing every last one of them. Right? For I know their thoughts. I know their deeds. The time is coming. The time is coming when I will gather together all nations and languages. And they will what? They will come to see my glory. And I will give them a sign. I'm going to give them a sign. Yeah, I'm going to give them a sign. They're going to come and see my glory. So there's coming a time where Yah is going to reveal himself and reveal his arm. His arm is saying, when I come and I get Israel from the places where they've been scattered, that's Yah's arm. Okay. And when they talk about him revealing his arm, that's what they're talking about. Yah's arm is only revealed to gather the people of Israel back into his place that he told them. Okay. So that's what it is. Now listen to this. In chapter number 52 of Isaiah, look what it says. Awake, awake, Zion, clothe yourselves with strength. Dress in your splendid garments, Yerushalayim. So who's he talking to? He's talking to the holy city. And what does he tell the holy city? He says the uncircumcised and the unclean will enter you no more. Do you hear that? They're not going in. The unclean, and we found out today that the unclean are those who do that which is wrong. We're unclean right now, so will we be able to go to Jerusalem and Jerusalem? No, because you have to be made clean. Okay, he says, shake the dust up, shake off the dust, arise, be enthroned, Jerusalem, loosen the chains off your neck, captive daughter of Zion. Thus saith Yahweh, you were sold for nothing. You were sold for nothing. You will be redeemed without money. For thus saith Yahweh Elohim, long ago my people went down to Egypt to live there as aliens, and Ashur oppressed them for no reason. So now, what should I do here, says Ashawah, since my people were carried off for nothing? Meaning, it didn't cost my people nothing to be carried off, and it ain't gonna cost them nothing to come back to me. Their oppressors are howling, saying, Yahweh, he says Yahweh, and my name is always being insulted daily. Therefore, my people will know my name. Therefore, on that day, they will know that I'm the one speaking. Here I am. What day is he talking about? I want to show you. How beautiful on the mountains are the feet of him who brings good news, proclaiming shalom, and bringing good news of good news of good things, announcing salvation, and saying to Zion, you're king. Your Elohim is king. So this is about Yah returning to Jerusalem. That's the good news. The good news is not the New Testament. The good news is that someone is going to proclaim that Yah, your king, is here. Who's our king? Yahweh. He says, listen, your watchmen, whose watchmen? Jerusalem's, are raising their voices, shouting for joy together, for they see before their own eyes. What do they see? Yahweh returning as what? As a king. Break out in joy. Sing together, you ruins of Jerusalem, for Yahweh has comforted who? His people. He's comforted his people. Why? Because he's coming back as king. And he has redeemed Jerusalem. Or Jerusalem is not going to be under attack. Yahweh has what? Bared his what? This is what I wanted to show you. He's bared his holy arm. That's Yah's arm. Bringing salvation. Comforting his people. Bringing his people back home. That's how he bared his arm in the sight of every nation. That's what I think Rivka was asking about. I wasn't able to get there until now. Yah has bared his holy arm in the sight of every nation. So every nation is going to see what Yah is going to do. And all the ends of the earth will see. See the salvation? So Yah's holy arm is the salvation of Yah. And guess what he says? Get out of there. Don't touch anything unclean. Gotta wear. The places where you've been scattered. Get out from inside it and be clean. You who carry Yahweh's temple equipment. Talking about the Elohim. You need not to leave in haste. Do not have to flee. Why? Because Yahweh will go ahead of you. The Elohim of Israel will also be behind you, just like he was in Egypt. And he says, you see how my servant will succeed? Who's his servant? Who's Yah's servant? Israel. Israel's Yah's servant. So it's telling you, I'm going to show you how my servant's going to succeed, because I'm going to come and get him. He will be raised up. He will be exalted. They thought this was Christ. It's not. It's Israel. He is the servant, which is Israel. Yaakov, Israel, will be raised up and exalted and highly honored. Just as many were appalled at him, they hated him. Who? Israel. Because he was so disfigured that even a human being didn't even seem human, and simply no longer look like a human. This is where the Christians get that this is Christ, but it's not. So now he will startle many nations. Who will startle many nations? Israel. Why? Because of him, Israel, kings will be speechless. Why? Because when Yah reveals his holy arm and he saves his people from all the scattered nations, he'll bring them back to the land, and they will see that I had not told them. They will ponder things that they've never heard. So kings are going to be speechless. They're not going to be like, they're going to be like, what is this?
They're going to be speechless. They're going to be speechless when they reveal who the people are.
They're going to reveal who the children of Israel are from all the nations scattered around the whole entire globe. That's why in 66, I'm going to judge all humanity with fire. And he's going to judge them according what? To Yah's righteousness, what he expects from them. Israel is, our Torah was given to us in order for us to be a people that are set apart and holy. Okay? That's the whole reason for it, because we were the ones who were living and dwelling in his presence. And anytime you live in and dwelling in the presence of Yah, everything has to be holy. Even the temple had to be atoned for. The altar had to be atoned for. Everything had to be atoned for. That's why we have the Torah. The Torah is not for a religious thing to say that, you know, you and I are, you know, we're righteous. No, that you will achieve righteousness by doing the acts that Yah had told you to do. Okay? Now, anyone have any comments, suggestions, contributions, any of that before I move on?
I have a question.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's really,
Go ahead.
So when will all those things actually happen? Is that going to be before we go into the wilderness or after we come out of the
After you
wilderness?
come out of the wilderness.
That's what I thought. Okay.
It's after, because you have to be brought to the wilderness, because that's where Yah will cleanse us. Remember, he said that I'm going to bring you out to the wilderness. I'm going to judge you when you get to the wilderness. So okay. Oh, praise the Holy One of Israel. This is a question I have for everyone. Put your phone back on mute. This is the question I have for everyone. I want if anyone wants to answer, they can. And I'm just going to ask you. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I'm just going to ask this question. Are we here because of the transgressions that we did, or are we here because of the transgressions of our ancestors?
Our ancestors and ourselves.
Okay, so now we want to differentiate. So first of all, we were sent into exile because of what our ancestors did, right? How could Yah judge us why is Yah bringing the children of Israel to the wilderness to judge them? And judge them for what?
For what happened in the wilderness, our disobedience unto him and serving other gods when we were in there.
Correct. What I want to bring to your attention is that the reason why the children of Israel are going to be brought back out to the wilderness, this generation of us to be brought back out to the wilderness, is to judge us. Okay, so let me make it clear. Yah says that Israel, when they're in exile, their exile is payment for what they've done wrong, for what they did in the land. Okay, judgment for what they did in the land required exile. The children are the beneficiaries of what their parents did. So when he says, I'm going to punish the children are going to feel the effects of the parents' transgressions, is because the parents of that generation have violated Yah's laws. So because of that, he put them into exile. Okay. The sins that we are dealing with, where he said, where you're living and sinning, that we saw in the book of Ezekiel, Yah is stating to us that the sins that you and I are going to have to give an account for are the ones that you and I have committed while you and I were here in the land. So he's not holding us responsible for that which was committed in the land of Israel. You and I's transgressions are going to be held responsible for that which we have done in the land that we're at, that we've committed. Okay. Here's the good news. The good news is that since you and I have decided to follow the Torah, right? Yah says, I'm going to show you mercy. The individuals who does not do what Yah asked them to do are considered rebels. They're going to be judged for the sins of themselves, and because they didn't benefit from the exile. They decided not to turn. Okay. They're going to have to answer for what they've done, and they're going to have to answer for what their ancestors did, because it never was fully resolved. In the contract Yah has given us, which is the covenant, is for us to make our minds up to see whether or not we're going to keep the commandments. The moment that you decided to keep the Torah is the moment that you said, I want to give a good faith effort to do what he asked me to do. And by you doing that great faith effort, you're showing yourself to be one who decided to turn back to Yah with a whole heart. Okay. That's what it is. So this is what Yah says, that he's going to bring us out. Verse 34, I will bring you out from the peoples and gather you from the countries where you were scattered with a mighty hand, stretched out arm, and poured out fury. Then I will bring you into the desert of the peoples and judge you face to face, just as I judged your ancestors in the desert of the land of Egypt. So I will judge you. So this is a different judgment. This is not the judgment that we saw. I will judge all humanity, because Yah judges his people separately. Yah will judge you and I face to face. And the you here, he's talking to the nation of Israel. I'm talking to all the whole house of Israel. I'm bringing you out to the desert to judge you face to face. Okay. Just as I judged your ancestors. Okay. So it's not going to be, 5 tribes, 6 tribes. It's going to be every last one of them brought out to the desert in the land. Okay. So I will judge you as a house. Okay. Then he says, I'm going to make you pass under the crook and bring you to the obligations of the covenant. I will rid you of all the rebels who are in revolt against me. Okay. Past tense, not revolting, that are past tense, that are in revolt, meaning they did not, when I brought them out, there's still revolts. There's people still revolting who have revolted against me. I will bring them out of the land. I'm going to bring them too. The rebels, I'm going to bring them out, but I'm going to rid of them. I'm going to get rid of them. Where they are living, I'm going to bring them out where they're living, but they will not enter the land of Israel. Because remember, we just read where Yah says, Jerusalem, no uncircumcised or unclean persons enter you. No unrighteous person will ever enter the land of Israel. No unrighteous person will ever enter the land of Israel. I need you to hear what I just told you. No unrighteous person will ever enter the land of Israel. That's what Yah says. And I'm gonna show you what he says, so you can say, well, you know what, Dawid, I know that you're saying this, but how can you prove it? I want you to prove that to me, because you're saying that, and I know right now there's a lot of people over there that are doing homosexuality and they're doing all kind of stuff. So obviously you might got it mixed up. You might don't even know what you're talking about. Well, I don't want you to hear what I said. Let's hear what he said. Let's take him at what he says. Don't take what the news says or what the so-called historian says. Let's talk about what he says. Because you can't argue what he says, right? So let's see what he says. Isaiah chapter number 60 says this. It says, what does it begin off with? Arise, shine, Yerushalayim, your light has come. Who's the light? Oh, the glory of Yahweh has risen over you. Has that happened yet? No. For although darkness covers the earth and thick darkness the peoples, on you Yahweh will rise, and over you will be seen his glory. Is this spiritual or is this actual? It's actual. Will be seen with the eyes, not spiritual eyes, physical eyes. His glory will be seen over Jerusalem. Just like it was over the tent, the tabernacle, it's going to be over Jerusalem. Nations will go toward your light. Nations will go toward your light? Really? Oh, yeah. And kings toward your shining splendor. Raise your eyes and look around. They're all assembling. Who? The kings. And they're coming to you. Your sons are coming from afar. Your daughters are being carried on the nurse's hips. Then you will see and be radiant. Your heart will throb and swell with delight, for the riches of the seas will be brought to you. Who's he talking to? Talking to Jerusalem. The wealth of the nations will come to you. Who's he talking to? Jerusalem. Caravans of camels will cover your land. Jerusalem. Young camels from Midian and Ephah, and all that are coming from Sheba, bringing gold and frankincense. Who's he talking to? Jerusalem. And proclaiming the praises of Yahweh. Oh, really? So the people from Midian is going to be proclaiming Yahweh's praise? Has that happened yet? No. The people from Ephah is coming with gold and silver and praise and frankincense and praising Yah. Has that happened yet? No. Sheba? No. It hasn't happened. And all the flocks of Kedar will be gathered for you. Who? Jerusalem. All the rams of Navayot will be at your service. Who? Jerusalem. They will come up and be received on my altar as I glorify my glorious house. Has that happened? Is his house there yet? No. Who are these? flying along like clouds, like doves to their dovecotes. The coastlands are putting their hope in me. Who? Yahweh. With the Tarshish ships in the lead, and bring your children. Has the Tarshish ships brought the children back? No. And with their arm with silver and gold, for the sake of Yahweh your Elohim, the Holy One of Israel, who glorifies you. Who? Jerusalem. Foreigners will build your walls. Who? Jerusalem. Their kings will be at your service. Who? Jerusalem. And in my anger, I struck you. Who? Jerusalem. But in my mercy, I will pity you. Jerusalem. Your gates, Jerusalem, will always be open. Jerusalem. They will not be shut day or night. Jerusalem. Why? Why aren't your gates going to be open? Why are they not going to close? Because the people will bring the wealth of the nations to you all day and all night, Jerusalem. And their kings led in procession. For the nation or kingdom that won't serve you, Jerusalem, will perish. Yes. Those nations will be utterly destroyed. The glory of Lebanon will come to you. Cypress together with elm trees and larches to beautify the site of my sanctuary. Where? At his sanctuary in Jerusalem. I will glorify the place where I stand in Jerusalem. The children of your oppressors will come and bow low before you. All who despise you, Jerusalem, will fall at your feet, calling you the city. So it proves. The city, Jerusalem. The city of Yahweh, Zion, the Holy One of Israel. In the past, you were abandoned and hated, Jerusalem, so that no one would even pass through you. But now I will make your pride, but now I will make you the pride of what? Of the ages, and a joy for many generations. You will drink the milk of nations. You will nurse at the royal breast, and know that I am Yahweh, am your Savior and Redeemer, the mighty one of Yaakov. Yah is not only Israel's Redeemer, he's the Savior and the Redeemer of Jerusalem. The city, the holy city. He says, for what? For bronze, I will bring you gold. Don't worry about them bringing no bronze. I'm bringing you gold instead of bronze. For iron, I will bring you silver. And for bronze, I will bring the place of wood. And in iron, the places of stones. I will make shalom your governor, and righteousness your taskmaster. Is that what's going on in Jerusalem today? Is shalom the governor? No. Is righteousness the taskmaster? No. Violence will no longer be heard in your land. Violence will no longer be heard in your land, Jerusalem. Desolation and destruction within your borders will not be heard any longer. Is that the case today? No. Instead, you will call your walls salvation, and your gates will be called praise. No more will the sun be your light by day. Why? Because the glory of Yahweh will be over it. Nor will the moonlight shine on you. Why? Instead, Yahweh will be your light forever, and your Elohim, your glory. No longer will your sun go down, and your moon will no longer wane. For Yahweh will be your light forever. Your days of mourning will end. All your people will be Zedekim, righteous, every last one of them. They will inherit the land forever, and they will be a branch that I planted, my handiwork in which I take pride. The smallest will grow to 1,000, and the weakest will become a mighty nation. I, Yahweh, when the right time comes, will quickly bring it about. All your people will be righteous. Zedekim. Is that the case today? No.
No,
So is Yah in Jerusalem? No.
no.
You see? So if we start reading and we accept what Yah says, then all the pictures and puzzles will come together. No one can deceive you and make you think that unrighteousness is going to be in Jerusalem. It's not. All your people are going to be righteous. There won't be any uncircumcised person in Jerusalem. There won't be any wickedness in the land of Jerusalem. There will be no violence in the land of Jerusalem. There will be no violence in their borders. There will be no violence, no killing, no homosexuality, no Western democracy government. There will never be any of those things. because Yah will be in control. That's what it is.
Hallelujah. Wow.
They're going to be wealthy. There ain't going to be no more war because Yah says I'm putting an end to war. There ain't going to be no more war. That's what it is.
Thank you. You answered that question wonderfully. So now I totally understand. To get a little bit confused when those things would actually happen. So
Yeah.
basically, Yah is going to judge us first.
Yes, you're getting judged.
Yeah, and then after after we're judged and he gets us straight and we're ready, then he's going to have the nations to bring over to be judged and then bring over to us gifts.
Yes,
Basically,
yes, but he's
that's
really his thing.
it's so beautiful.
Yeah, he's glorifying the land and the people, but you can't, the land and the people go together, right? So it can't be just the land, it has to be the land and the people, right? Because the land won't be a land without a people, right? So that's what he does. Yes,
That's
Kent.
right.
Got your hand up, Kent? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to comment on that part. Said the walls will be salvation.
Mhm.
That stuck out, because a lot of people think of the spiritual salvation. Like, no, these ain't no spiritual walls. These are some physical walls.
Right, these are physical walls. Yeah, they're going to be rebuilt, and he talks about how in other chapters of Isaiah, chapters in the 50 series, you hear all the Yah's talking to Jerusalem. He's not talking to the people, he's talking to Jerusalem, he's talking to the land. There's promises that he made to the land, and there's promises he made to the people. So the land is his land, and he loves the land, and he calls her the mother of his children, right? So he's not letting anybody that's unrighteous come into the land anymore. All this whole thing, like, and I'm just going to tell it. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I'm just going to tell you this whole idea about this dispensation, about a 6th day, 7th day, and all this kind of nonsense. We need to throw that out your mind, because the bottom line is this: Yah's bringing Israel to the desert to judge them. Then he says no one's going to enter the land that that he said, I'm ridding of all the people who are in rebellion against me, who revolted against me. There's no wicked, unrighteous, uncircumcised person ever going into the land of Israel, ever. Okay. So the idea that you got extra time, like someone's going to give you an extra 1,000 years so you can act a fool, and whatever you decided not to do this time, this dispensation, you got the 6th day to not keep the Torah. You buy and sell because you're in exile, so you're not in the land, so it doesn't matter. Because when you get to the land, then that's when everything's going to be expected of you. You just saw for yourself the Yah himself. It says nobody that's unrighteous is entering the land. No rebel is going to the land. I know that we've been taught by these so-called sages and these so-called rabbis. These people have gave you the idea that you have time to violate the Torah. You don't have no time to violate the Torah. If you don't want to keep the Torah, that's great. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. That's your decision. That's your choice. Israel has always had a choice. And when people take that choice away from us and make us think that Yah says you can walk away. You got a choice to make. You can literally walk away from Yah anytime you want to. People are, I can't walk away. I'll never walk away. Yah says the people of Israel have never done what I've asked them to do, even to this very day. Okay? Are the people in line right now? You could walk away. I could walk away. Well, no, that's impossible. No, it's not impossible. It's not. It's not impossible. Okay? And let me show you, because this is what's important. People are lying to us. Okay, they have been lying, and they're going to keep lying because they have an agenda. The agenda is to spiritualize everything, to make you and I believe that there's some type of leader, or that they really have your best interest at heart. Do you know this is all about us coming together? Yes, there are leaders, but you got to be careful. You got to pick your leader. You could pick your leader. Israel's to pick their leaders. So and this is the reason why we're not in the land today, it's because the leaders that we picked were men who were willing to take a bribe, those who are willing not to execute the judgment that Yah asked us to. Okay, this is what it is. Book of Ezekiel, chapter 3 says this. He said to me, human being, eat what you see in front of you. Eat the scroll. Eat what I'm writing. Then go and speak to the house of Israel. So I opened my mouth and he gave me the scroll to eat. And he said to me, human being, this is where they get the whole eating scroll thing from in the book of Revelation. Okay. I opened my mouth and he gave me the scroll to eat. He said, human being, eat this scroll I'm giving you. Fill your insides with it. When I ate it, it tastes as sweet as honey. Remember this. It's a scroll. He said, human being, he said to me, go to the house of Israel and speak my words to them. You are not being sent to a people with a difficult language and an unintelligible speech. So they're not like they don't know what you're talking about, but you're being sent to the house of Israel, not to many peoples with difficult languages and unintelligible speech. I'm not sending you someone who don't understand what you're talking about, whose words you can't understand when you hear them. Without doubt, if I sent you to them, they would listen to you. But the house of Israel will not be willing to listen to you because they aren't willing to listen to me. Since all the house of Israel are obstinate and hard-hearted. I know that we've been told, no, we're not. We're not rebels. Yes, we are. We're rebels. Well, we're not rebelling right now. Listen. Until Yah cleanses us, we're in a state of uncleanness. Don't you understand? We are rebelling against Yah. Well, I'm coming to class. I'm reading. I'm doing. Listen what I'm trying to tell you, okay? Yah says that he tells us that you and I have been rebelling from the day that I've known you. You and I will not stop our rebelling until the moment he comes and gets us. Do you understand that? Till the moment that he makes us clean. You understand? Now, I know that our understanding of being a rebel means that we're going against him purposefully. No, you're not going against him. Rebelling against Yah doesn't only mean purposefully. Then why does he say that you and I are sinning against him? Why does he say that you're living and sinning right now against him? Because these Christians and these Christians have told you and I that we're clean and that what we're doing is acceptable to him. But Isaiah says our righteousness is nothing but filthy rags, as the uncleanness of Anita. So we got to either take one of the two. If you and I would accept the fact that we're rebels and that we need to be consistently going after Yah, then our attitude would change. However, I'm making you as defiant and obstinate as they are. And he's talking to the ones that are in exile. Yes, I'm making your resoluteness harder than a flint, as hard as a diamond. So don't be afraid of them or depressed by how they look at you, because they are a rebellious house. Then he said to me, human being, receive in your heart and hear with your ears all my words that I speak to you. Then go to the exiles, your countrymen, and speak to them. I need you to tell them, here is what Yahweh Elohim says, whether they listen or not. A spirit lifted me up. I heard him behind me, a very loud sound. Blessed be the glory of Yahweh from his place. That's what he heard. It was the sound of wings of the living creatures as they begat against each other, and the sound of the wheels next to them, a very loud sound. Now, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? We're talking about these creatures, this when he saw the glory of Yah in chapter 1 and 2. But that's not the point I want to talk about. I want to show you what he says. So a spirit lifted me up, took me away. I went in bitterness in the heat of my spirit, and in the hand of Yahweh was strong on me. I went to the exiles who were living in Tel Aviv by the Kavar River and stayed with them. And I was in a stupefied state for 7 days. And after 7 days, the word of Yahweh came to me, human being, I have appointed you to be a watchman for the house of Israel. When you hear a word from my mouth, you are to warn them for me. If I say to the wicked person, you will certainly die, and you fail to warn him to speak and warn that wicked person to leave his wicked way and save his life, then the wicked person will die guilty, and I will hold you responsible for his death. On the other hand, if you warn the wicked person, he doesn't turn from his wickedness or the wicked way or his wicked way, then he will still die guilty, but you have saved your own life. Similarly, when a righteous, this is what I wanted you to know. This is the part I want you to know. The prophets are not sent to talk just the wicked. They're sent to talk to the righteous. Similarly, when a righteous person turns away from his righteousness and commits wickedness, I will place a stumbling block before him. He will die. because you failed to warn him. He will die in his sin. His righteous acts, which he did, will not be remembered. And I will hold you responsible for his death. But if you warn the righteous person that a righteous person should not sin, and he doesn't sin, then he certainly will live, because he took the warning, and you too will have saved your life. The hand of Yahweh came on there on me, and he said to me, you get up. And then he goes on to talk about these other things. My point of reading this to you is to let you know that it's not about just the righteous and the wicked. I mean, the wicked, it's about the righteous. You got to warn people. And no one's warning anybody. Everybody is being everyone's friend. They want you to be their friend. They want you to love them so you can be highly spoken of. I'm only telling you this because I've been told and instructed by the Holy One, don't you hold back your tongue from telling the righteous. I've told the wicked, but I need you to warn the righteous. Any of us right now, he says, warn the righteous. Righteous is the people who are doing what Yah says, that in their mind, they get caught up and they'll turn from Yah. You can easily be turned away from Yah. If it wasn't true, then Yah would have never said, don't marry their people. Don't get involved in their customs. Stay away from them. Be separated. Be holy. Why? Because he knows Israel's easily influenced. The only reason why you respect me as your teacher is because I'm telling you the truth. You do not have any room. Look, if you knew that the Creator's coming in fire, and you knew that the slain of Yahweh was going to be many, then you would understand what I'm saying. That we cannot afford. Is it a scare tactic? Yes, it is a scare tactic, because I'm warning you. If Yah killed the whole entire planet and saved 8 people, what guarantees do you and I have, except for doing what he says? I don't know why you're in this, but this is why I'm in it. I'm in this to make sure that I meet the Creator in wholesomeness. He says a righteous person can turn away. So don't get lifted up in pride like Job, and start accusing Yah, because guess what his problem was? He said he was without sin, and he said he was righteous, and Yah said, no, you're not. Yah said that you had a problem, and that's why I had to humble you, to let you know that I'm Elohim, and that you're a human being, and you need to bow down to me. Yah is using this opportunity to get us to bow down. Humble yourself before the King of the heavens and the earth. He's not human. Do you understand? That's the whole reason why you're online, is to find out what he says. Those are not my words. They're his words. I did say we're going to share our Hebrew, and we are. Now, I did send this out to everyone last week on lesson number 1. Did anyone not receive it? Everyone went into shock mode.
I don't know if I received it or not. Did you send it through email?
Yeah, I did. I sent it through email. Okay.
Okay.
That's lesson number 1. I will send lesson number 2 to you after. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this first page today, and then I'm going to send this one page to you. Okay. I want you to understand rule number 7. You should have rules number 1 through 6. Okay. Don't worry about if you can read it, or right now if you can't. You have a book that I sent to you to teach you how to read. So if you want to read it, you'll read it, right? So this is just to learn the different vocabulary, okay? The vocabulary words are the sus, the susah, the melech, the malachi, the mitzvah in 17:18 is the simcha, 19 is the shalach, and lakak, and nathan, the asad, the ahav, and the kara. All these words and letters make words, and these words are nouns, and some of them are verbs. I will send this list to you, and then you go ahead and you read it in your personal time. The rule that we want to talk about today is the arrow, okay? And it's a pointer. And in the Hebrew scriptures, you will find this 2-letter arrow. It's called a direct object marker, okay? Et, okay, or eth, okay, eth, eth, E-T-H, eth. The Christians had turned around and said that this is the Aleph and the Tav. I'm the first and I'm the last. Why? Because the Aleph is the first letter and the Tav is the last letter. So I'm the first and I'm the last, right? And they say that this is Christ, right? Which is wrong. It is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and it is the last letter between the alphabet, okay? But it's really used to show as an arrow, okay? It's a pointer, like you would with in class if you had a chalkboard and you had to use a stick, you had to point at something. That's essentially what it is. So when we look at this first sentence right here, which is Ha-ish shalak eth ha-isha. Ha means, somebody tell me what ha means? If you don't know Hebrew, it's okay. You're going to learn today. That's the, T-H-E. That's in rule number 1, okay? The. And ish is a man. I should change my color so you can see it. Shalak means to what? Anybody know? What is shalak?
He sent.
He sent. That's going to be a vocabulary word. So all the vocabulary words are going to be used in all the examples, okay? So far we got the man sent, and then it gives you this direct object marker, okay? This is an arrow. So it's going to let you know. So this is the noun. This is the verb. And it's going to let you know what is the man sending. Okay. He's sending the ha, which is the what? How do you say this? How do you say woman? Isha. Isha. So read, and she is again a noun. She's a feminine noun. So read the sentence to me, Kent. Who would like to read this? You can read it.
I'll read it.
Okay, go ahead, Sister Renee.
Hold on. Sorry, I have to change my screen because I missed part of it. Let's see.
Let me make it bigger for you. This is a
Sorry,
rule.
I think I just messed up my screen. So,
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Let's see if I can pull it up. Ha-ish.
Yes.
Shalak. Es.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Ha-isha.
Perfect. All right. That's good. And so that's basically letting us know, is pointing directly to what the man sent, what the verb is sending, which is the woman. Okay. So the eth points out to us that it was the man who sent the woman. Okay. So that's basically what an ed is. It's an object marker. Okay. Let's look at the next one. The next one is what? Who wants to give that a shot? Well, let me help you out. This little dot right, or that little symbol in there is a ah sound, A-H. The first letter here is a H. So that's ha, okay? The next letter in Hebrew is a bet. It's a B sound.
Bon, me, son.
This is an A sound. And the last letter is an N sound. So when you got that, You got a B-A-Y-N. It's called Bane. Okay. So Habane. Okay. Habane.
Bang.
Okay.
That's fine.
This is an N transliterated. It has an ah sound underneath it. So first of all, well, how would you make that sound?
Bang or bond? No, bang.
So this one right here is an N right here. That's an N.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got a vowel point under it that says ah. So I can say that. Nah.
I know. Oh.
That's nah. Okay. This right here, this is a TH sound. And that has a vowel underneath the end of it, of the vowel, and then you have a final noon, which is an N. So how do you say that? Thon. Yeah, so I got Habane, Habane, Nathan. Nathan. Okay? Thon. Okay? Nathan. Can you say it? Nathan. Na, yeah, Nathan. Thon. Like Nathan, Nathan. That'll be Nathan. And that means to give. So if you have a name in Hebrew called Nathaniel, is Yah gave. Nathan. Okay? Nathan. Okay? So Habane Nathan, what? Eth what? Ha. That's it. This is the letter H, right? And then you got the ah sound. So that's ha what? That's a S. That's the S sound. That's a stomach, and that's a S. And this is a U sound. So it's what?
Hasus.
Hasus. And Hasus. And what's a sus? What's a sus? You guys remember?
A horse.
A horse. There you go, right up here. A sus is a horse. How do you say and how do you say for a female horse?
Susa.
Susa. So a sus and susa. Okay, so one is a male and one is a female. Okay. So you see, we're using the words that I'm going to send to you out of the vocabulary. And what's going to happen is you're going to build your vocabulary up. Okay. But you got to know how to use the vowels, right? So listen, now we're back here. So we got what? Havain, Nathan, Eth, Hasus. And then we have this letter, this word. L. Good job. L. And you would do what? E. Those three dots are the EH. And then the L. L. Okay. L. L what? L ha. Ha'av. Ha'av. And what's a av?
Father.
Av. Father. So the Father.
Yeah.
So when we read this, it would be what? It would be the Son gave Eth the Hasus to the what?
The Father.
To the Father. He gave the horse. The Son gave the horse to the Father. So you can see that the Eth points out what it is that the Son gave. So that's why it's called a direct object marker, because it points you exactly to what was being given. So it lets you know this is the verb, this is the noun. So it directs the verb to the what? To the noun that it's talking about. Okay. He gave the horse. That's what he gave. That's the verb to what? The horse to. Okay. The horse. Okay. So the Eth points out what it was that the Son gave to the Father, which is the horse. So the basic rule is when you see the word Eth in a sentence, you don't translate it. It's just a pointer. That's all it is. It's just pointing you to what the verb is talking about. Is that easy or what? Okay. So those are the different examples that you'll look at when you look at your thing this week. I'm not going to bombard you. like I did last week with all the pages. I just want to give you one page at a time so you can really look at it. You can get the vocabulary words, okay? So one of the test things that I do want to see right quick is I want to see if you understand these vowels. So somebody tell me what this vowel sound is under the letter hey right here. Okay. So tell me the first letter. What's the name of this letter right here?
Hey.
What's the name of the, yes, hey, what's the name of that letter?
Aleph.
What's the name of this letter?
Bet.
Bet. Good job. The sound is a vet, but the letter is a bet. What's the name of this letter?
Lamed.
What's the name of this letter?
Kuf.
Yep, Kuf. What's the name of this letter?
Tav.
Tav would have a little leg on it. It doesn't. So it doesn't have a leg on it, so it's a ket.
Oh.
Yeah, they look alike. That's a ket. That's a C-H-E-T. Okay, the ket. Okay, it's a wall. Okay, ket. What's the name of this letter?
Aleph.
What's the name of this letter?
Tav.
That's the top. You see the little leg?
Yeah.
That has a leg. Over here, there's no leg. And on here, there's a space, so it's not a ket. It's the hey. Okay, so they look alike, but they're not the same. You see? What's the name of this letter?
Hey.
Good. And what's the name of this letter?
Aleph.
And what's the name of this letter? It's a final.
Can't see.
Final mem.
Oh, final.
Final mem. Okay. Good job. Okay. Now that we got the letters down, I wanted to ask you a question. So what sound does this make?
Ha.
Ah. Okay. So that one makes ah. Okay. And how about this one? Ah. This one's a longer ah. So this one here is a longer ah. So you say it longer, like ah, and this one's ah. Ah. Okay, so just make it a little longer, a little shorter. So the one that's short is this mark. The one is long is this one. Okay, they're both ahs. Okay, as in father. Okay, how about these three dots right here? What sound does that make? Perfect. What sound does the aleph make?
Silent.
No, silent. There's no sound.
Yeah.
You just make, the only reason why they have it over there is because they're letting you know with these three dots, they need a letter over, need a consonant over. What sound does this this tav make? What sound does that make?
Te.
Yeah, it has a T sound when it has a dot in it, like this. If there's no dot, it makes a what sound? TH. Like in the is okay. What sound does this make?
Ha.
Yeah, like in hello. Okay. What sound does this make? These two dots.
E.
EY, A, or like I say, either one of those, depending on your education, right? A, it's an A sound. Just remember, two dots is A. It could be A as in gray, or it could be A as in say. You're just concerned about how it sounds. It's A. Okay. You understand? A. Okay. So eh. Okay. And then the final sound is a mem. So what sound does that make?
M.
What sound does the final mem make?
Oh, M.
Your lips together. It's not gonna make ma because that's M-A. It's mother. Mouse. So it's a sound, okay? And even though it's a final, it's on the end, okay? So it still makes that M sound, all right? Make a little song. Okay? You can make a little jazz out of it. You can make whatever you got to do. But if you notice, if I say look, I'm gonna say it ha'av, ha'av, lakach, 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 See, it's all there. So the vowels just make the sound. Ha, 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 aim, ha. Okay. So whatever you got to do, because if you learn how to read the vowels fast, you'll learn how to say the words faster because you already know what these sounds are. You already know how to make the sounds of M. You know what an H sound is. You know what a TH sound is. You know what a CH sound is. You know what a Q sound is or a K sound. You know how to say L. You know how to do B or V. You already know that. The only thing you don't know is what these things mean. That's the only thing you don't know. So if you know those things, you'll be able to go, you know, ha'av lakaka de eta'aim. Ha'av lakak ha'ala. Ha'av lakak eta'aim. You got to sing it, okay? You got to make sense of it. But if you don't know the vowels, then you'll never be able to say the letters. You'll never be able to say it, okay? So that's the study on that today, all right? I wish I could have did more, but we got caught up in the Torah about where we are and what is it that we should be doing. And I know a lot of times that could be, you know, that could be overwhelming. And even with the language, it could be a little overwhelming as well. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Because next week we're going to be going into this one. See, this is very in-depth, very in-depth. So I'm going to just send you this page right here. I'm going to send you that so you can rehearse that and then get your vowels down and just practice it. And then, you know, learn some of these words because these words are going to be the words that we're going to be dealing with. And one of the things that I do when I get my vocabulary list, I don't just read my vocabulary list like Sus, horse, Susal, female horse, Melech, Malachi. I don't do it like that because I don't learn that way. You know, I find a way to make it fun and enjoyable. So I sing it. Okay, so I'll make a song. You know, I'll put some music on and I'll sing it. You know, I'll keep singing it until I can't sing it no more. All right. And you guys have heard me sing before. I can't sing, but I always make I always make a way to have fun with it, right? So what I want to show you or what I want to share with you is you could take a song, you could take some music and you could put some music to it and you could learn the vocabulary easily. Because if you learn how to sing something, it stays with you longer. There's never a problem, you know. There's not a problem when you sing it, all right? So there's not a problem. When you're not having fun with it, you're just trying to treat it like regular stuff that you learn in school, it's going to be difficult for you because you're like, why should I have to continue to read this? You know, what is this? What is this about, right? So let me see. Anybody have any questions?
Brother Daweed, I had a question. I had two questions.
Okay.
About the lesson earlier. One was about the rev and when you become clean. So do you become clean? Do you have to like bathe prior to the sun going down and then you're clean in the rev? Or
yes, yeah.
clean in the
yeah.
rev?
No, what it is okay, so for example, you got to go through the process of, you know, bathe yourself, and then you got to wait until the evening to become officially, in Yah's eyes and his perspective, to be clean. So you bathe yourself, you go through all that. That doesn't, you're not, your soul's not clean. How about that? How about that? Let's keep it what it is. So you wash your body. Your body is, you know, clean. You washed it with soap and water and, you know, you bathed. Then you got to, and then, you know, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, you're clean from the outside. Yah's talking about that which is inside. He's talking about your soul. So you understand? So that's, maybe I should be very clear because we're not religious. Okay. So your soul is what Yah's talking about to be clean. Okay. Your body is holding your soul. So your outside vessel and your clothes might be clean, but your soul has to go through a process of being clean, and Yah will declare it clean when the evening happens. You see? So when he talks about being clean, remember I told you in Hebrew, the word for clean or purity is tahor, and the uncleanness is tameh. And the English could not provide, they cannot even come up with a definition. They don't even have nothing that's equivalent to the purity in which they're talking about, because they know that there's not nothing equivalent on this earth that what can be classified as pure. They know that. That's why they couldn't come up with an actual name except for purity or clean. Nothing else. They can't match it up with anything. You understand? So what we're talking about is your soul. Your soul needs to be purified. Okay? That's what this is about. All right? So outside, people wash their bodies and they think they're clean. Yah says that doesn't make you clean in his eyes. What makes you clean in his eyes is you go through the process for you on the outside, but the inside, I got to deal with the inside. You deal with the outside, I deal with the inside. Your responsibility is taking a bath and washing your clothes. You can't purify yourself unless you follow Yah's laws. There's things that you and I don't understand. I don't really know why it's the sun. Why does he wait till there's a mixing? I don't understand that. I really don't, but that's what he said. So I follow what he says. One day you and I will have the answers. One day we'll know what straight purity is, because right now we don't know what that means because we're not in our land. He hasn't cleansed us. He said you're living and sinning. But even in the process of going through our purification, you said, well, what's the whole point of taking a bath after we, well, number one, you should. But secondly, what do you mean about the spiritual significance? Why wouldn't you pray to God if you know you're in a place of uncleanness? Because even while Israel was in a place of uncleanness, like Daniel was in exile, and the place where he lived was Babylon, right? Did he pray?
Yes.
Yes, he did. Did he eat? Did he eat what Yah told him to eat? Yes,
Yep.
he did. So that's not an excuse. That's what Yah's telling us. That's not an excuse. And did he pray and confess his sins? Yes. He confessed. If you read Daniel chapter number 9, a great chapter to read, in Nehemiah chapter 9, same thing. They pray about their sins and the sins of their people. They confess. So confession is part of what we do, because there's a part of us that has to be cleansed by Yah. It's Yah's way of cleansing us. We don't have anything to do with the sun going down, do we?
David,
Yes, sir. Yes, Rivka.
when we're referencing the Hebrew boys in Babylon in captivity, they did those things and Yah protected them. And when Daniel was in the lion's den,
Yeah.
and when they were in the when they went in the furnace, they didn't burn. But we see that because they set themselves apart.
Yes. That's a great, excellent point, Rivka. And thank you for bringing that out, because that's the truth. And that's the reason why you will want to do it, is because going back to what he said in Isaiah 66 about bringing fire. So, well, how am I going to be delivered from the fire? Well, if you were like the Hebrew boys and you held firm to what Yah told you to do, then it's not what they believed, it's what they knew. They did what they knew. They practiced. It was a practice. It wasn't a belief system. It was a practice. That's what they did. So Yah says, if you separate yourself and don't eat pig's meat and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to spare you. But we got this idea of, they've been telling us that he loves you so much, he loved the world, that he won't do anything to you. They don't know Yah. They do not know him like you and I know him. But they put it this way, that the people of Nineveh knew Yah better than you and I know. They knew him.
That's because they had heard of him. They heard
They
of
heard of him.
they heard and they heard of when he brought him out of Mizraim with a strong hand, and they heard about him.
Yeah. And I want to make another point clear. When I talk about us being rebels and I say we're rebelling against him, I'm talking about when he told Ezekiel what he told him, he's talking to the nation. So I don't want anybody to take this personal on here, D-tip, C-tip. Don't take this personal. Can't take it personal. We're part of a nation, and our nation, there's people within the nation that are rebelling against Yah. And so when Yah looks at Israel, he doesn't say, I'm looking at the individual. I'm looking at the whole entire nation. Tell the house of Israel, the whole entire house of Israel. And unfortunately, we're part of a group of people who refuse to do what he says. So when I say that we're rebelling, I'm talking about the nation. I want to be clear about that. Okay. I don't want to give you any false senses like we're 100%, everybody's on the same page. We're not. The house of Israel is a group of rebels that decided that they wanted to go against the Creator, and they're still going against him even to this day. Okay? So don't take it personal. I said this in one of my teachings before. Don't take it personal. Don't get emotional about it. Just say what Yah says is true. He's not a man. And if anything, welcome to the club. We're all part of the uncleanness. We're all part of the don't know everything. We're all part of seeking Yah. We're all going through a process. And we don't need to religify it. We just need to be honest with each other. And I think you guys can appreciate that. But don't let nobody sell you on the fact that there's nothing wrong. No, there's a lot wrong. If there wasn't anything wrong, Yah wouldn't have said, when you get to the land, after I finish doing what I'm doing, you're going to loathe yourself. You should be ashamed. Where's that coming in? When are we going to start feeling that? You're going to feel that? When? When are you going to start feeling bad about it? Anything? See, he wants it. This is about repentance. It's about turning. If you know that someone's done something wrong, you got to show some kind of remorse. How do you do that? Well, you don't go around celebrating, well, we're in the 6th day, and when we get to the 7th day, everything's going to be great. Yay! No, you're going to say what Yah says. You know what? We've crossed the line. We shouldn't even be here. He said, I was going to wipe you off the face of the earth, and we've done wrong. And so why is he asking us to feel this way? Why? Why is he asking us to feel this way? Why would a father want a child to think about it? So we can change our mind. That's all. That's all this is about, is changing your mind and changing your behavior like they did in Nineveh. And said, you know what? I need to disrobe myself, and I need to put sackcloth and ashes in my brain. And I need to say, you know what, Yah? I messed up, and my ancestors messed up. And guess what? I'm going to stop this nonsense. What is it about me that you're not happy with? What do I need to change about me? Because obviously you said we're sinning against you. And I want to be clear. Whatever I'm doing against you today, I don't want to do it anymore. If that's a thought, it could be a thought. It could be a way that we think. It could be a way that we treat people. It could be a way that we address people in our family. It could be a pride issue. And I don't mean prideful to say, well, you got knowledge. A lot of people that got knowledge get accused of being prideful and they don't have the right spirit. Well, no, it's not that. You could have a way about you that needs to be addressed. Like I confessed before to you guys. Yah showed me at one point, I said, I love my house. He said, yeah, well, that's what you think. I said, what? He said, you need to love people not only from the standpoint of taking care of them, but you need to love people in your household and only seeing that you keep peace no matter what. You don't always, even if you're right, you could say that you're wrong. If you offended somebody, they don't need, for us to say, well, I'm right about what I'm saying, so I don't owe you no apology. I was talking to Forrest about this. I had to say that even I've offended people that I purposely didn't want to offend. And when I offended them, a part of me was like, well, forget that. I know I'm right what I said. Yah says that's not the way it goes. You don't want anyone to feel any discomfort. That's not our purpose. You don't want anybody to feel that. And if you got a chance, if you said something that made someone feel something, even if you're right, you say, look, that's not my intent. I don't want you to feel that way right now because you're a human being. I don't want you to feel that way. Yeah, you got to tell them the truth. Does it hurt them? Yeah, but guess what? Even in telling them the truth, sometimes it's going to hurt them. But you tell them that's not my intention. So if I hurt you in the process of that, I'm sorry that I got to hurt you, but I got to hurt you. It's not my intent, but it is what the truth is. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. It's not sorry about what I said. I'm sorry that you feel that way. And I think that's a great way of saying, I'm sorry that you feel that way about it, because that's not my intent. Because all of our intention is to help bring someone to a better place. Am I right about it or what?
You're right.
Yeah. You don't tell anybody the truth because you're trying to hurt them. If they get hurt in the process, they got hurt. But that's not your intent. Your intent was never to hurt them. Your intent is to help them. And that's all I'm saying. Okay. So I want you to take those words and understand today on this Shabbat that anything I've said to you today is not to hurt you. And it's not to make you feel less than. You might be hurt by some of the things that I said, because I told you that we're nothing. And I told you that we're human. And I told you we're unclean. I told you we're filthy. And I told you all this stuff that nobody else is willing to tell you. Why? Because that's what Yah says. That's what he says. And the moment that you and I accept that truth, then we'll be better, because then we'll elevate him to know that, well, I do need him to come and cleanse me. I can't do it. Doesn't mean I stop doing what he's asking me to do. No. But your righteousness are filthy rags before Yah. And so is mine. So why is he coming to get us? He's not coming because we've done anything good. He's coming to us because he made a promise. That's what we should celebrate, is what he said. He's the one who made the promise. He's not coming to me because I keep the Torah. He's coming to get me because he promised. Because of his righteousness based on his name. Not because of Dawid. Not because of Stan. Not because of Renee. Not because you guys are doing good and I'm doing good. Not because I'm teaching the Torah. He's not coming to get me for that. He's coming to get me because he made a promise. Because if it's left up to what I've done or my ancestors done, I would have been wiped off a long time ago. So I can see his mercy and his compassion. When we don't see, if we don't see ourselves in that light, you won't see his mercy. That's what I don't like about churches, is that you will not see the mercy of Yah because they're telling you how great you are and how wonderful you are. And it's not about being, depraved and I'm sinful. I'm not saying you're sinful. I'm saying you're humans. And I'm saying that we need to be purified. And I'm saying that Yah's mercy and his grace is greater than us. And he's greater. Remember we just read in the book of Job, he says he's greater than any mortal. And we're at this point where we're so comfortable with him that we just think that he's going to just accept anything. We take a bath. Well, I'm clean. No. Yah says you're not clean until the evening. Well, I don't know about that. We going around, not everybody on here, but the nation. We got individuals saying that every day is the Shabbat, making no distinction between any of his days. Every day is the Shabbat. Every day is the Shabbat. This is what these human beings have said. And then they'll get mad when Yah says, I'm going to kill you for that. Yah says, don't pick up any sticks on the Shabbat. A child picks up sticks, a teenager, Yah kills him. Well, guess what? Then Yah's the bad guy, right? Yah's the bad guy because he tells the wicked that you need to turn from your ways or I'm going to put you to death. He's the bad guy. He's the bad guy when he tells the righteous, you watch your step, because if you turn from me, I won't remember any of your righteous deeds. That's so unfair, right? He's the bad guy because a woman naturally has a menstrual cycle, because that's the way he made her, to bring forth life. And all of a sudden she's nasty and she's filthy and she's unclean. That's not how Yah looks at it. That's not how he looks at it. That's our perspective. That's what we've been taught. Because she has a baby, Yah says she's unclean. In our minds, oh, a baby's a beautiful thing. Why is she unclean? So what we're doing is we're elevating how we feel and what we think above what Yah says. Get it in your mind, in your body, in your soul, that we're human and that our Elohim is not. He's not from this earth. Okay? He wants to live with us, but it's going to be on his terms. Okay? That's what it's going to be. And we don't know, we don't have timetables of when Yah's coming, but we do know this. He says he is coming. So be prepared. Be ready, because he is coming. Do I know when? No. It could be today. It could be tomorrow. It could be next week. It could be next year. It does not matter. If you get to go back to the land, then you get to go back. If you don't, you don't. Moshe wanted to go. He didn't get to go. He rebelled. Did y'all let him in the land? No. Did he let Aaron in the land? No. Did he let Miriam in the land? No. He didn't. So let's just remember and humble ourselves and be thankful for where we are today. Yah gave us this day, this Shabbat, to love and to appreciate him. If you are walking in the righteousness of Yah today, then praise Yah for this day. Don't praise him for something you've never seen. You need to praise him for the days that you see and the days that you can call upon his name. And with that, I would say to you, shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you, David.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Totally love for all the questions or answering all the questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat.
Shabbat shalom.
You have a question, Renee?
Well, I do have a quick question. It's just I was wondering, what do you guys use to like brush your beard? Like, cause I noticed most of the brushes that men use have like boar hair.
Oh, we got a special blood called no pig. We have a special brush that we ordered. What's it called, Rivka? No pig in my wig. Yeah, no pig in my wig.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's got no pig in my wig.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you use plastic, but the ones that we have is we use something that doesn't have any it's an organic brush. It's a vegan brush, so we use a vegan brush. Yeah.
All right, cool.
And
Thank
be
you.
careful, yeah, and don't drink any wine that hasn't been kosher. Go to Trader Joe's to get your kosher wine because regular wines are usually filtered with pig intestines.
Right.
So you want to be careful. So make sure your wines are kosher. Okay.
All right. Awesome. Total Ravah.
Total Ravah to you guys. I love each and every last one of you, and I thank you for your support and continue to study. Okay. And I will send you guys, like I said, that first page that we did today. All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Shalom.
Shalom, and we'll see you.
Mhm.